All right, so let's make a like really saturated, plucky type of melody here. And then I wanted that BPM to be up around 150. Let's go 143. I don't know why. Just gonna roll with it. And then I usually start off with Serum for my melodies. I think it's almost necessary to have some sort of saw wave within a more aggressive sounding lead. So I'm gonna keep that saw, but I'm going to make the slopes convex and concave. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. I'm gonna drag everything down to 0, and then we're just gonna do something like that. Actually, that's kind of cool. Let's do this. Let's add some static just for some harmonics. Cool. Let's layer another saw. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. I want to create some sort of modulation here. I like the tonal aspect of it, but it's not modulated enough. Like it doesn't vary throughout the phase. So let's create a wavetable. I did this in my other video, so if you don't know how to create a wavetable, you can just skip to my other video and watch the in-depth process, or you can just stick around and watch how I do this really quick. Let's see what that sounds like. So let's create a wavetable here. We'll create a spectral wavetable. And I'm just going to mute all these so that I can isolate what this first table looks like, or what it sounds like rather. That is really cool. You know what I might have to do is just increase the volume. I'm going to create another wavetable. I'm going to remove those just so I keep that square wave. I'm going to create a lot of harmonic content, kind of like before the phase shifts here. Let's go 32 by 32. Actually, no, it's a bit too much. Let's do 19 by 10. See what that sounds like. So now I'm going to create that table, morph, spectral, normalize. All right, I'm going to mute all these other oscillators. That sounds cool. And I want to create like a stab here. Okay, let's hear what it sounds like with this saw. I'm liking that a lot, actually. All right, let's add a filter. Cool. I'm going to modulate that resonance as well. It gives it that interesting quality at the attack. Let's go into the effects here. Gotta add saturation. So you click on distortion, tube saturation. I always go pre. So I'm moving this, and then I'm watching what's happening here. So what I'm gonna do is use LFO to control Q. use LFO5, control the frequency here. I click on envelope because that means that this only activates when there's a note playing. These other settings are based on time. So you can see every time that I hit the note on envelope mode, that's when this envelope is activated. I want it to be barely noticeable. Cool. I want to get a melody going first, and then I'll start making more effects. All right, let's make a melody. So obviously I'm going to go minor, natural minor, maybe Dorian or Phrygian mode, something a little, because I notice a lot with Yeat's music, especially when he's making music with BNYX, they do a lot of like Phrygian or like Dorian stuff. So let's just get into something like Mediterranean sounding. So what I thought I was going to use for a lead, for like a harder lead, I think I'm just going to use as like some sort of bass line. So what I'm going to do is actually label this bass line. I'm going to bring it into the drum section and then route it to the drum bus. I'm going to fix my EQ preset there. Let's make this 72 and just... How absolutely ridiculous. I love music, man. That's so crazy. Okay, I'm gonna add another distortion thing here because I'm making a bass line. So I'm still gonna go pre, except I'm gonna swap this and then boost the lows. Kind of notice that this isn't like a normal trap vibe. This is specifically like a trippy, futuristic kind of vibe that we're making for Yeat. So a little bit different than like standard trap music. I would say this is more like futuristic hyper right now. And so because of that, I'm going to add in a kick. Let's go every 4. I'm going to sidechain a little bit there because there's a little bit of interference. Even when I reverse the polarity, you can tell that there's interference there. Like there's a little bit of masking in that sub region, and I want that kick to cut through, but I also want that bass line to shine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is create another melody pattern. Here, let's save this preset first from this pattern. I'm just going to call it Yeat bassline, honestly. So let's go into my melody 2, where I want things to build up a little bit. I'm going to open up Yeat bassline, and then I'm going to control and paste. It's my melody 2. It's kind of cool how versatile that sound is because I'm using the same exact sound just at a higher range. Let's create a pitch shift. So I should probably do the same thing for the pitch there. I'm gonna do the same thing for the pitch here. Let's hear what it all sounds like together. Whew, this is about to be the craziest drop of my entire career, bro. I'm glad I got this on video. I'm gonna add in a couple of elements. I also, something about this, there's like, it carries a little bit too much low end. I want it to be a little bit more in your face, lead, center. Let's throw some decapitator on there, bro. Decapitator is so good. Okay, I'm going to clone the melody and the kick pattern there. I'm just going to use the second half of that. Let's start making a trap beat out of this thing. Yep. So I'm just going to use this section here to build up upon what I have here as a foundation. Let's go into my kit here and find a hi-hat. 51 sounds good. All right, let's drag 51 in. We'll go right here, route that to 23. All right, we got to add some rolls in there, so let's make this sound absolutely disgusting. Yep. One quick trick, if you're dragging notes for your hi-hats or your snares or even your kicks in the piano roll, and you're not noticing a change in pitch like this, it just sounds the same no matter where you're dragging on the piano roll. Just make sure that you're going into the actual sound settings and your time is probably getting stretched. So you can see this one, the time is barely getting stretched, but it's making it so that you cannot control essentially the speed of the note. So I'm just gonna make sure that I drag the time all the way down, and then now we can see that there's a volume change, or a pitch change rather. See? Actually, let's go a whole semitone down. Let's do a descending roll here. Also, we need a new lead. That's just not hard enough. What is that? What I think I'm gonna do now is just create like a classic hip hop type of like boom bap beat for the intro before we evolve into a really interesting beat. So I'm gonna go into my kit. Let's go into my snares and let's find something kind of vintage. That's pretty vintage right there. Let's do that. Let's layer these two. So I'm just creating layers to create custom sounds. So I'm gonna make the second half of the kick pattern, I'm just gonna make it interesting for the sake of the vibe. Okay, so right here is where we're going to create a switch up. we're gonna create some sort of arpeggio melody. And I want this to be like super dirty, super aggressive, but also melodic at the same time. So let's get after it. Sounds horrible. I'm gonna have to buckle down and like make a really good melody. About to go nuts. Okay, so I want to change the 808 pattern a little bit just to give the beat some more bounce. I don't want the 808 to compete with the snare, so I'm going to change something here. Add some reverb to that and then shorten it up and make it more plucky. What I'm gonna do is I need to use a flanger. I'm gonna try hyper chorus. Okay, I'm gonna create an automation clip for the mix knob. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be kind of close. Now I'm gonna use copy paste. I'm gonna select all of this, copy paste, copy paste. For freaking, how many bars should I do this for? Let's go 16. The kick is clashing with the 808, so I might have to select a different kick. That kick is getting through. absolutely ridiculous. No joke, I'm on a different level. I'm on a different level. There's no other way to explain it. I just put two different universes in one. Guys, that's the beat. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out my free drum kit. It's in the link in the description. If you want all the sounds from this beat, check out the link with all of these Serum presets, the FLP, and like I said, don't forget to check out the drum kit. All the drums that I used in this beat are in the drum kit, so don't forget to download. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. You do not want to miss out when I'm dropping these gems. Till next time, peace.